to all the issues. Lord, keep me from going mental. Help me sure the bed ain't simple and stay woke on instrumentals.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to CHH Hysteria, a podcast for CHH about everything CHH. I am your host, Cole.
And I'm your co-host, Cooper.
And today I'm super excited because we have one of our favorite new artists on the show with us. We have Tylerhateslife. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, definitely, man. Sorry, cheers to you.
You're good. So we brought Tyler on to talk about something a little bit different than what we normally cover. We usually don't stray too far away from just talking about CHH. We thought it'd be really interesting to cover the church and how it currently responds to mental health and how it can improve that response. So Tyler, I'll go ahead and let you start. I know it's kind of like a really broad question, but how would you say, from what you've seen, how has the global church responded to mental health issues in the past 10 years?
10 years? Man. I'd say in the past 10 years, there's been a growth, in my opinion, to be completely honest, because before the 2000s and from 2000 to like 2010, that like era was like kind of just get over it type of thing, like just like be tough, get over it. I mean, I work in an organization where it's like it's still a lot like that, and but the world in general and the church has started taking a lot of this stuff more seriously. There's obviously a lot of things we need to grow on, and I feel like most people would expect like a negative answer, like, oh, it hasn't done well. But in all honesty, if you really think about how it was back like only 30 years ago, people take like mental health a lot more serious than they used to. There's so much more studies, statistics, all that stuff, like when it comes to like depression, anxiety, suicides, all of that stuff. Like we have statistics, and like I'm a chaplain assistant in the Army. That's my job, and that's a big subject for what we do. Like we're dealing with, like, we're trying to prevent people from doing that. And in the military, it's a huge thing. It's like suicide rates in the military are insane. And so like our goal is to figure out ways to help people get past that mental block where they feel like there's nothing else to live for. Because I mean, I'm gonna be completely real with you, man. Like that's a real thing. Before I met my wife, I was in that place. Like that's like I joke about it all the time. Like if I didn't have Jesus, then I would have done something stupid. The only reason I never did anything stupid was because I knew that this was temporary, and through Christ everything was going to be made whole, you know? So it's like then I found my wife, and my life got a lot better, you know? But in regards to the church, how they deal with mental health, personally, I think there's been a growth in the past 10 years, for real.
Yeah, I like how you kind of started out by saying, you know, there has been a growth, because I would agree. Like, I mean, I'm only 20, so like I wasn't old enough to really like know kind of what's going on like in the 2000s, 2010s, sort of really early 2010s as it regards to like this sort of stuff. But like just looking back as what we can see on the internet and stuff, like people in general and the church, they just take it a lot more seriously. There are a lot more people are just listening to people that are struggling, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So I really like what you said about that. And you said you're a chaplain assistant in the Army?
Yeah, that's my job. So you have a chaplain, and so a lot of people are familiar with that job. It's not only in the military that you have chaplains, but like fire departments have chaplains. Chaplains they're there to provide religious support for whatever like organization is. Okay, but my job is basically to make sure that the chaplain is able to provide ministry to people and help them out and all that stuff. Yeah, it's a pretty fun job though, for real. And I mean, it's my full time job, and I'm serving God, so it's like there's I don't know if it gets much better than that. And then on top of that, like I make Christian rap on the side, so it's like super
You
fun.
live in the good life.
Yeah, not not to not to name drop Trip Lee or anything. I don't know if you
Right.
did you ever listen to that album.
Oh, dude, that's like part of my childhood album. I mean,
Okay,
childhood,
like
like middle school days.
I'm being dead serious. Like when I think of The Good Life, the album, I was probably you said you're 14. How old are you?
Me, I'm 20,
Oh crap!
21.
I thought you said you're 14. What the heck?
Nah.
That's hilarious. Hey, sorry. No offense to anybody. I thought you said you're 14. All right. Anyways, when I was, it's like I'm 20. I'm gonna be laughing over that. All right. So when I was like 16, I was a ranch hand. That was my job. And Tripoli dropped the good life, and I remember shoveling like horse crap, and like like for like every weekend, and I would just listen to that album the whole time, and by the end of the album I'd be done. That's that like I loved the album, but like that's the memory that comes when that it's probably not the best memory, but it got me through it. So
I mean, hey, that's that's a funny memory. Cooper, I know you had some statistics that you wanted to share as far as the church and mental health and stuff.
So I found some statistics, what's it called, on ChristianityToday.com. And so just some of the notable ones that I found. Quote from them: 90% of pastors, when they interviewed pastors and they like interviewed them about mental health and like this subject, and a quote from the website: 90% believe the the church has a moral and spiritual responsibility to provide resources and support to those with mental illness and their families. So like clearly, pastors think that we should be supporting um, these people, and then like um, also to say something that kind of shocked me. Like I knew clinical depression was diagnosed quite a bit, but 74% of Protestant pastors said that they knew someone diagnosed with clinical depression. So like it's clearly widespread, and then plus the 90% believing that the church has a moral and spiritual responsibility to provide resources and support to those with mental illnesses. Like I think they know what they need to do. It's just the failure comes with the act upon their knowledge of this. So like they know 70 3/4 of them know that someone is depressed, and they believe that this church has this moral and spiritual responsibility about this, and they know this, but they fail to act upon it. I think that's where like one area that we could grow in is that because like only 30, according to when another statistic that they had, is only 33% spoke to their large group more than once a year about this. And so clearly like they're not talking about it, but they know of it. So like I think that's one area that we could grow. um,
yeah, like talking about it, that's definitely I definitely agree with that. I believe talking about things is like the key to fixing everything. I mean, I talk about things that people are not comfortable with. I mean, that's kind of like, in my opinion, that's my favorite type of music too. But like, okay, like Hard Life. You said Hard Life. Like, there's some lines in Hard Life that are like that are a little raw. Like they're almost like I'm just being real. Like, there's not really. I don't like say them over this chat, but like some of the lines in there, like they're being real. Like if I'm being dead honest. Like before before I met my wife, and I was living in a life full of lust, right? And like and that was the reality that I was in, but I don't want to hide that from anyone. A funny thing about depression, just a side note, because I was just like listening to us talk or whatever, but and I was thinking, is like with my experience in the army, this is kind of something that I started thinking about, because a lot of people add this like negative vibe towards towards depression and the word depression. But what I've found though is like most people who feel go through a period of depression, and I think it's normal. I think you just learn how you learn how to like to just beat it, you know? But I think it's less normal when you meet people who never go through it at all. Because like there's a lot of people that I work with that they're cold. They don't feel like emotions at all, and I think that's more dangerous. Like if I meet someone who's depressed, if you're depressed, it means you care most of the time. It's because you care, you know, like you care about something. I don't whether you're depressed because you're not where you wanted to be or something happened, but it's because your heart hurts and you care. Uh, and I don't know. I feel like that's a different look on that. I don't know. Maybe if I'm ever talking to somebody or dealing with that, I know that viewpoint would have probably helped me because I felt like I was like something was wrong with me. I don't think there's anything wrong with someone who's depressed. I think that it's normal that when we go through hard things in life, you should feel. I think it's not normal if you go through a hard thing and you're just like, whatever, like, okay, someone passed away, whatever. I guess whatever. That's not you should feel. And then it gets hard though if you can't get over it and like you live with that for years and years. There's definitely like yeah, that's when it gets like really hard. I get that. I don't know. That was just a thought I had. I'm sorry for going off topic.
No, you good. I really like that thought what you just said. Like, what you just said is like really well biblically grounded as well too. You know, like the Bible teaches that like hardships are gonna come and you're gonna have times of mourning, and like if someone tells you that you're not, that's like a bad gospel. You know, that's like
Yeah.
Joel Osteen type stuff. And to go off what Cooper said and like what you said about like just kind of talking about it helps. I actually have a statistic about that. It's from the same source Cooper had, the same study. 63% of people or in the families that struggle with mental health, they said that they just want the church to talk about it openly. So like it's not like a taboo subject, so like because they feel like it's hard enough for them to come out and say that they feel this way, just because it's always hard to talk about whatever feeling, especially when it comes to negative feelings. But especially if they feel like it's a taboo subject, it's going to be really hard to talk about. So kind of like what you said, just like talking about it is like a great way to improve our response to mental health. Yeah, and like another thing that from the study that said, they said 74% want the church to help families find local resources for support in dealing with the illness. What are you guys' thoughts about that?
I think I think it depends on what support means. If they're asking for money, that's not the first line of support, in my opinion. I think that the first line is if they're asking for moral or just knowledge based. So like me and my wife, we went to counseling for just finances one time, just to like learn how to get our finances together, and that's the church supporting people that are like in need basically. But like in any way when it comes to mental illness or any of that stuff, I think the first line is like is counseling type stuff. I don't think that like I don't know if churches really like are charging people money to go to counseling, then I don't really agree with that. I think that there are things that you should charge money for, and then there are like should you charge money for your worship pastor's CD that he's selling? Yeah, sure. He made the CD and he's selling it. Should you charge somebody money to help them not be depressed? Probably not. I mean, moral. Or morally, like that just seems. But I think that's the first line. I think a lot of times in churches, and I've seen it happen, you get a lot of people who are looking for handouts. It's a church, so they're like, oh well, these people will pay my bills for me, or these people will like if they're mentally ill, like, hey, can you help me buy this medicine for me? Blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, they're addicted to pills. Like, stuff like that because someone bought them for them, or maybe they're already addicted to pills and they're tricking the church into buying them drugs for them, like stuff like I don't know, but like I don't know. Hopefully that answered the question. And I don't know, but
Yeah. Like, it's like it's kind of what you said, like a tricky, it can be a tricky situation, in the sense of like, paying for someone's medicine, whatever it may be. I think in some cases that's a really good thing to do. In some cases, there's things that you should probably take first, steps first. So, something that Lecrae said in his book, I Am Restored, which is a fantastic book, and if you guys haven't read it, I would definitely recommend it. It's kind of a long passage, not passage, a long section, but I'll read it real quick. It says, sadly, in many of our churches, we've separated our mental health from our theology. We don't believe we need a counselor if we have a relationship with Jesus. But Jesus and a therapist, spiritual disciplines, and therapeutic direction can all work together for healing. There is no conflict between our mental and spiritual health. In fact, they are interconnected. To our shame, many of our churches have shunned a connection between cognitive behavioral therapy and theology. What is even worse is that many of the counseling services churches offer are from people who are not professionally licensed. Just because someone gives good advice does not mean they are a mental health therapist. We need to use the gifts, all the gifts God has given us, including the expertise of those who are equipped to walk with people through mental darkness. No shortcuts or over spiritualized cliches will work here. And I feel like, I like when I first read I Am Restored, I was like, oh, that's like really, I thought that was really good. And it kind of goes in a little bit what you said. So you said, like the church would obviously offer some counseling, and I agree with that 100%. But I think at some point there needs to come, if it's let's say if whatever they're struggling with has lasted long enough or whatever, that the church could help them at least find a good therapist. Would you think you agree with that? Like someone that's like professionally
yeah,
licensed, if they don't have one.
no, definitely,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I think,
no, like all I was saying was when it comes to that stuff, it's like because I've just seen it too many times of people trying to look for like the easy ways to get out of things, but then a lot of times people genuinely need help, and that's where like as a pastor, as a leader in a church, you have to have kind of a discernment to be able to read people and just make sure like, but most of the time like you can tell like if somebody's asking like, and if they're asking for a handout, offer them counseling or offer them because that's the easiest way to know what they're actually looking for. Like, hey, why don't you come talk with me? No, I just need the freaking money, like something like that. I don't know, like, yeah,
yeah,
I
it can,
agree with you.
yeah, it can be hard. Like just like as like a church leader in general and being a part of the church, and kind of like reading people is a really good skill that we should all be able to have. But I think kind of like one of the good point that this study kind of brought up is, um, one thing the church could do better is just like having those resources, not necessarily like kind of like available for anyone to come grab, but like resources where they can find help, if that makes sense. So like,
Yeah,
be like, oh, I know this therapist or this company or whatever that is really really good, and like it's in like our church website or whatever that we support these guys or whatever. And I know supporting like an organization comes with a lot of uh, ties, because if they mess up then it makes your church look bad. But I think it's helpful if the church is able to kind of like suggest places where people can go.
yeah.
But kind of moving on to the next thing, Tyler, are there any other ways that, from what you've seen, and whether local church, global church, that we could improve our response to help people?
I think figuring out a way to not put all the pressure on the key leaders in the church. So, I hope that makes sense. But like, it's like every church I ever go to, people get mad at the pastor because the pastor is that like they'll be at church on Sunday and they'll try to talk to him, and then he talks to him for like 5 seconds and then he walks away and they're like, oh, he just snubbed me. No, he's the pastor of the church. He's a leader. He has a lot of stuff that he's doing that's going on. So figuring out ways to like take that pressure off the pastor by maybe like assigning I don't know. I that's a hard one, man. Like, because people are always going to be looking at the face of the organization, but I think that that's a big thing, though. If there's one thing that I've heard people complain about all the time about churches, that the pastor, like, he doesn't actually care. He's just there to talk. Like, but no, he actually cares. He's dedicated years to what he's doing. It's just that he can't be there for every single person, you know. So, like, in my opinion, like, figuring out ways to just, I don't know, get the pressure off the pastor, or maybe other people in the church step up and, you know, like, rather than the pastor being the only person who provides any sort of like ministry, like the deacons and all those guys, like, actually fulfill the roles, you know, and they're all mentors rather than just like the one guy who's running the church. Like, everyone just has to step up. But the problem is like, to get a collective effort like that, it's very rare. Like, it's hard most people are so busy with their lives, and I mean, they're just wanting to go to church on Sunday and call it a week. Like, for being real, I mean, it stinks to talk about because, like, I don't know how many songs I've heard people talk about, like, oh, don't go to church on Sunday, or don't just go to church on Sunday and then the rest of the week not even think about God. But like, that's really that's what I love about making music. I'm gonna be real, and being a Christian artist, is that my hobby keeps me involved with God. You know what I mean? So like, if I didn't have this hobby, I don't know when I would, like, I wouldn't talk to God very often, you know, but like, because this is what I do, I'm always writing. I'm always like praying about the words I'm writing. I'm talking to God. It's a hobby, but I don't think it has to be with music. It can be with whatever your hobby is. Like, whatever you're trying to like make into like whatever your dream is, like, you should be involving God in that. So if you guys are, with what you're doing here, like, I'm sure there's a lot of prep that goes into making these things, and as long as God's like a part of that, and like, that's a blessing, man. Not a lot of most people just sit on their couch and watch TV, and then like Sunday comes around and they're like, oh crap, I forgot to pray.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. Like, you know, within the church, there is a lot of lukewarmness, a lot of like just kind of checking off the box to go to church on Sunday, or just get a devotion in the morning, whatever it may be. But like, you know, our lives should look radically different. And I think the more people that are radically changed, you know, obviously the more our response will become better. And going back to like what you like first said, and about the, like, not just the pastor or whatever. I think church leadership is very important, that the pastor doesn't have too much power. And that's kind of like a different subject, but like, I think this is where like the church body comes into play, like, really, really well. Like, the pastor or the elders or whoever's teaching that day, whatever, they're there to equip people, not to do everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're there to equip people with the knowledge they need to, you know, go make a difference in other people's lives and all that good stuff. So like, everyone in the church body has a play, you know. It's not just the pastor or just the elders, whatever it may be. So I think what you said is really good.
It's funny when I see people who like will leave a church, and I'll be like, why did you leave the church? And they're like, oh, the pastor was mean to me. Like, the pastor didn't talk to me. Like, what, are you going to church for the pastor, man? Like, when he's on stage and God's speaking through him, was God talking to you through that person? Oh yeah, God was talking to me. Well, so you left because that specific guy didn't say hi to you or something. Okay, that's not the right answer, man. Like, you're not going to the church to be friends with the pastor. I mean, it's cool if you're friends with him, but like, You're going there to talk about God and hopefully grow, and then eventually hopefully talk to Him more than just Sunday. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think a big part of church in general is community, though. So like if you go to a church and like they're not welcoming, I feel like that's a big red flag. But like if it's just like the
Oh,
pastor
yeah.
didn't talk to you, I mean like I see what he's saying. But yeah, like not welcoming church, that's a big red flag.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. I mean, and unfortunately, there are definitely churches where like there's a certain type of person that goes to that church. Like if I'm being dead honest, like some of the churches I've gone to, they'll be like kind of underground, but like the only people at that church are people who are like ex drug addicts and overdose, like have overdose, like all kinds of stuff. But you don't see anybody there that's like rich. It's all just like ex drug addicts and like all kinds of stuff. But like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I mean, this is cool. You found a bunch of people who have turned their life around, but what about the people who do have it together? Because all of us need Jesus, but it's like, it's just fun. I mean, and then you go to like mega churches, and it's a whole bunch of it's a mixture. I mean, but mega church probably isn't the best example, because I think mega church is pretty much a mixture of people. I would just say there's some like higher class churches where it's like if you when you walk in, you feel like you have to like have a nice suit on. Like,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, I wish it wasn't like that, but denominations kind of that's what happens with denominations. That I don't know if y'all are. I'm non-denominational, but like in my opinion, like that boils down to the human in us trying to like control who God is. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you have to dress up for God in order, or just like going the complete opposite on it. I don't know, but
Yeah. I kind of see like where like different cultures will obviously come together and meet like a little bit more, but I do agree like more unification in the church is needed, because like people in those high class churches would never go to the church that these ex drug addicts are in. And I think that's a problem because like
I've met people who would like 100% would not walk into the church I go to right now, just because they're
Right.
like, because I can walk into my church and have like my hat on. Like, who cares? Like, we're worshiping God. We're not like trying to. But I've met people who are like, "What? Y'all wear hats?"
Dude, same.
Nah, heck no.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
it's like,
And like I mean it tends to be older people, but but anyways,
Yeah. old
Good.
ladies.
old ladies. Cooper, do you have anything you want to add onto this conversation?
So I just have one quick thing. How would you guys feel like, so Tyler, you said how like the army has a person that's dedicated to like religious mental health support. How would you feel about the church having something similar to that, like where you just have one person dedicated, like it might be a licensed therapist?
Yeah, like it's a
Or-
job.
Yeah, like how do you guys feel about that?
I guarantee you, especially in bigger churches, that they have those.
Okay.
They're like, because that's a great idea, but it's such a great idea that it's like there's no way we're the first ones who came up with that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That's true.
But like, I guarantee if you go to like places like Bethel, or I'm from Austin, Texas, so the Austin Stone, I'm pretty positive like the Austin Stone actually had therapists or whatever. I mean, a lot of pastors though, they get, while getting their degrees and going to college, they get degrees and certs on being therapists themselves, so they consider themselves therapists. I see what you're saying. You're saying hire a completely like a person dedicated that, and that is a great idea, because it takes pressure off the pastor, like we were talking about earlier. It puts that onto them. But the down part is a lot of the people who are going to that church, they want to talk to the pastor because they're like, oh, he's the one who is preaching on stage. I definitely see your point. I'm sure it is already kind of a thing, but if it's not, then I definitely support that and agree with it.
Yeah, I have a few things to add onto that too. So you you kind of have to be careful with that a little bit. Obviously, like like only bigger churches will be able to have this, because smaller churches won't be able to support a full time person like that or part time. Um, but if you were to hire someone for mental health support, you would have to make sure that they are like they're like legit some sort of
Yeah.
therapist, not like what Lecrae said, not someone that just could give advice, because like
Yeah.
good advice versus someone that understands it. You know what I mean? It's like there's a difference. Because advice is good, but it can only go so far, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But Tyler, you said a lot of interesting things, and I really appreciate your input on all the stuff that you said. And I want to, there are some things that I would love to continue talking to you about eventually. But we're actually running out of time on Zoom and stuff, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Do you have any last things you'd like to say before we head out?
No, I mean, check out my new song coming out in a few weeks. I've been this year. I'm dropping a song every 3 weeks. That's just kind of my thing, and it's like the last few years have just been years of planning. This year is like I'm like right there. I mean, I just basically purchased a studio that I can take anywhere. like
Hey.
like so
Okay.
like that's what I did.
Your
So
iPhone.
my whole like goal my whole goal with the music stuff, if I could be like remembered for one thing, it's I would like to basically be like one of the people. Like my goal is to make an album go platinum made 100% with my iPhone. Like that's my goal. And so like being kind of like there's a lot of people moving towards it. I'm not gonna lie. If there's one thing I'm confident that like I'm one of the like better people at, it would be like recording with iOS devices. That's how I've done everything. So every song you've heard besides Type, I believe, because Type was I didn't make the beat on Type, but any song that doesn't have a tag at the beginning was made with my iPhone and my iPad, because yeah, that's just how it is. So like there's an app called iMachine, and so when I was in airborne school with the military, I started making beats with that. I was already able to like sing and play guitar and stuff, but I started making beats, and I was like, yo, I'm about to just start making like producing too, because I couldn't find a producer. And then I just like kept with it, and now it's like I know how to make beats on that, but I also know how to make beats on the computer. And if I'm being completely honest with you, right now the computer has more depth and you can get more out of it. But the thing is like the future of this is all in making things portable. The iPads and the iPhones, that I would put my money, like all my money on that. In like 5 to 10 years, it's going to be like a normal thing for people to be making whole albums off of their iPads and all that. And like, but basically I just bought, every year I spend about $2,000 to $3,000 on a bunch of equipment, and then I just pay it off during the year. So like I use a credit card with Sweetwater, and then I just pay that credit card off throughout the year. It's built my credit actually a whole bunch. Not everybody likes cards, but if I don't use that, then I can't really get the music equipment I need. So it's all good. I have a steady job. We're fine. Anyways, so what I just bought though, like I've gotten everything I've needed, but up to this point, like I basically bought cases for like everything I have. And there's one specific item that's like the key, but it's called a Babyface Pro. It's an audio interface that is bus powered, but like it turns on, it gets powered by plugging it into my iPad. So literally I don't have to have a power outlet or anything. Like I can literally sit outside and produce a song like in the woods. So it's like, it's about to like
Campfire music to an extreme.
Bro, if I can get good with these videos for real, and I also like I found a few things. I didn't know this, but there's an organization called Moments, and they make lenses for an iPhone, like actual lenses. I was about to, because I've been trying to buy this camera, and then I was like, bro, I'm just gonna buy the lens for this iPhone so that I can say like, oh, I produced everything with my iPhone, but I also took all my videos with my iPhone. You know what I mean? Like I think that makes it look a little cooler, you know?
That's crazy.
And just like keep going. And then honest to God, I may never make it like insanely big, but I promise you, my son's gonna be famous. Like,
Hey,
he's going like, okay, I'm gonna be real though. TikTok just banned his freaking account.
What?
Yeah,
dude,
I'm not
whack.
kidding.
we are going to boycott TikTok until they put it back on.
It made me so angry. And it's because I made a funny video of him. He was half asleep, and he was in the bathroom, and I told him he needed to get. I was like, "You're gonna go pee, Eli? Come on!" And because he's my son. He's a little 3-year-old kid, and his shirt was off. They were like, "We're banning this account because you broke the rule." I don't know. Like, I have no idea.
Dang.
It's so stupid. So now I have, bro. That video got to 30,000 views before they banned it.
Dang.
Like
Shucks.
I was
Whack.
like, I was getting there. But yeah, I'm gonna just make another one, and then I'm gonna have to just not do that, I guess. Whatever.
No, I love that. I know you've said it in your songs before, you know, that you produce all your stuff from iPhones. I think it's dope, even though I'm Android gang. No, but
That's
you know, you are the first Rapzilla freshman to make all your stuff from iPhones. I can guarantee it. You made history.
I don't know if I'm not a freshman yet, but we'll see.
Oh, on the list. You know what? You're a freshman. You're gonna win.
Yeah, you're gonna win. You got it.
I mean,
yeah, I forgot that was just the list.
look, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I mean, it wouldn't surprise like I may not make the list because Chad likes to play games with me, but it's all good.
Man, that's too much of a game though. But no, for real. Thank you for coming on. I loved your input. I thought you had some interesting points. And where can we find you on socials? For all
On
the
socials,
viewers?
everything's Tyler Hates Life.
Cool.
Let me explain that name real fast. I like to do
All
that
right,
just
yeah.
because
Yeah.
most people, dude. I coached my son in t-ball, and my wife put my Cash App, and it says Tyler Hates Life, and everyone thought I was like suicidal.
fair.
So I told her she needs to start putting the Bible verse next to the name. But yeah, so John 12:25 says, "Anyone who loves their life will lose it, but anyone who hates their life in this world will keep it for eternal." Explanation: my mom passed away when I was 18, and I went through a really tough depression stage, like we had talked about in this video, pretty much. But I kept pursuing forward. I went to the Army. I was alone like for quite a while. Got a little depressed there, and then my dad and my stepmom divorced. Got really depressed, and then that's when I was like super in a dark place. My friend told me to read John, and what's funny though is his name is Eddie. On his Instagram, his name's Eddie Hates Life, and we got into an argument, and I was like, "Bro, you can't say you hate your life," and he was like, "Nah, bro, the Bible tells me I can." And then he's like my best friend in the Army, but he's like joking with me, and then he was like, "Bro, just make that your name," and then I did.
Hey, so it came from a bet and a Bible verse.
Yeah, I mean, when it really comes down to it, the name that I have is probably my favorite part about everything I do. Like, while a lot of people look at it and they're like, "Oh, that's not a good name because you have to explain it." I'm like, "Nah, you're completely wrong." It's 6ix9ine the rapper. It goes along the lines of what his name is, or XXXTentacion. Like those names, like they're so just weird that people look at them. Even if people like don't like the name Tyler Hates Life, a lot of like, bro, I promise you, I'm talking like I've sent songs to famous people and I've gotten DMs back, and I swear it's just because of what my name is. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean,
your music.
when I first listened to you, I clicked on you because of your name.
That's what I'm saying.
Before I heard your music, I was like, this sounds interesting.
And the cool part though, the coolest part about it is I'm a Christian rapper, but the goal for me, my goal is to lead people to Jesus. Like that's my heart. I'm like very evangelistic, right? And so I'm trying to lead people to Jesus. I'm not trying like you have worship leaders like they lead the church in worship, but like I wouldn't necessarily say that what they really do is lead people to Jesus. I think people are already led to Jesus, and their job is to lead them in worship. And then like what I do is I'm more of like the like missionary type of an artist. Like I'm going to try and make disciples. Like that's my goal. And so it's like I was trying to find what's the best way to do it. Well, man, like as a Christian rapper, I'm getting DMs from all kinds of people, like straight up, like seriously, I get DMs and people are like dropping F-bombs and all kinds of stuff because they don't know that I'm a Christian rapper. And then the more they listen to the words, they're like, wow, what an insanely dark / super deep meaning. And then like, you never know though. That could be the thing that like makes someone think differently. It's but yeah, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. We love it. We love your music, kind of what we said. Be sure to follow him on his Instagram and his do you have Twitter?
I do have Twitter. I don't really get on Twitter too much. I'm trying to get like my new goal right now. Now my son's TikTok got banned, so that's what frustrated me the most. But anyways, my goal, and this is actually insanely intelligent in my opinion, but I'm on my TikTok personally, I'm posting mainly videos of like my own songs or me singing acoustic. Like that's all I'm doing, which really doesn't go with like, that's not TikTok, but what I'm gonna do though is take my son's account and I'm gonna make him chase all the trends. And so my son is going to become ginormous. I swear to you. I'm not kidding. I think in 5 months, he's going to be huge. And eventually I'm just going to have him, once he's like big enough, I'm going to have him dance to like my songs, and that's going to help promotion with the music, but it's also going to set him a platform. So when he's in like high school, he doesn't have to ask me for gas money and we will be fine.
Right. That's smart. Yeah. Be sure to listen to his music. We actually have an episode dedicated solely to his music. It's an older episode. The quality's not as good, but be sure to check that out. Hard Life Falling.
Me and my wife listened to that whole thing. We love it.
Hey,
really?
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot better since then. But
bro, it's a process, man. I've been doing this I've been doing music for almost 9 years now. So like,
sheesh.
It's a process, bro. And you can never reach the top. You're always working. So
for sure.
The next song that's coming out is "If You Want Love" by NF. It's a cover.
Hey.
And I promise you, it's the best song I've ever made. So
I'm so excited. Is that this week then? This next Friday? Exactly a week from today, because Home
I think
came
it
out
is.
The 12th.
Is March 5th?
Yeah. Hey,
that'll be
nice.
next.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'll stream that for
yeah,
sure.
bro. Once we get off this call, I'm attempting to make a video for it, and it's gonna be if it works out fine, it's gonna be so good. Like I'm excited about it for real.
I hope it works out, bro. For sure.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Again, thank you. Follow us on our socials at CHH Hysteria. That's on Instagram and Twitter. But we're really only active on Instagram. I'm trying to do better on Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe and leave in the comments what you thought about all the things that we talked about, and as well on social media. Until next time.